Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I have to show you guys this forward-looking statement, very important statement. So just take a quick look, and then we'll get started, making sure everyone is here in the right room. We're talking about Marketplace today. All good? All right, let's get started. So quick intro. My name is Tia. I'm a product manager here.
I'm Tim Sepp, solution architect on the data collaboration team.
Awesome. And we're going to talk about unlocking the marketplace for you all. So both from a consumer as well as a provider's point of view. Awesome. So just let's talk about a quick overview of our agenda today. So we're going to cover from a high level what Marketplace is, talk about delta sharing a little bit, which is actually the open protocol, powering it underneath, which is the mechanism of sharing. Our format today is we're going to talk about top 10 questions answered in a sort of FAQ format, and then we're going to sprinkle a few demos throughout. Most particularly excited about this agentic builder we're going to show, which is something brand new that we've just added. Share a little bit of best practices. We have some secret sauce we want to share with y'all, and then we'll leave a few minutes for Q&A at the end. Awesome. So let's talk about what is Databricks Marketplace, right? Let's break it down into both the provider side and sort of the consumer side. On the provider side, we actually open up access for you. What it is it's an open platform where you can come in and share all types of data assets. You basically can reach our 14,000 and more customers throughout the Databricks platform. We exchange more than just data. Traditionally, marketplaces, you'll hear it's mostly like tabular data or what we call data. Of course, we provide that. But we also open it up to something that we're calling volumes, which is unstructured data. It includes images, pictures, videos, whatnot. We also have notebooks, AI models, solution accelerators. And as of most recently, we're integrating Partner Connect into Marketplace as well. So we also have that. Now, all of this is actually governed under Unity Catalog, so it's super secure, and it's all under the same one ecosystem. Now, on the consumer side, same thing. You can discover all the data assets that are on Marketplace, but we also have a lot of evaluation methods directly built into the Marketplace, such as sample notebooks that Tim is going to actually show us in practice a little bit. And we also, this is across any cloud, any region, anything, so there's really no lock-in. Now let's take a quick look at all these logos on this page. You can see it's broken down by industry, pretty much showcasing we're really excited to continue to partner with with more providers as well as partners as well. You can see probably some names that you recognize on here. If there's any that you're interested in, you can actually play around with it directly on the Marketplace. Now, you might be wondering, okay, I have all these things on the Marketplace. Like, how do I actually get access to it? Like, what is powering it underneath? And that's something called delta sharing. Now, maybe before I get started, like how many of you are familiar with delta sharing? Have anyone heard of it? Okay, a lot. Great. Okay, this is awesome. Maybe I don't need to talk about this. But in a nutshell, what delta sharing is it's pretty much an open protocol. And we kind of lead and build this in sort of a main principle of allowing you to share all data assets across and to everybody with no friction. This slide is not updated. That's okay, though. Pretty much what it is we allow you to share directly from the source, so you don't have any data duplication or replication required. And you can see from the source side, there's a bunch of different connectors that we have and different catalogs that you can actually federate into delta sharing. And also on the destination side, right? It's not just Databricks to Databricks. We also open it up to if you have any BI tools such as Tableau, Power BI. And also very recently, we're very excited to announce you can now also share to any Iceberg clients, so that includes Snowflake and like catalogs like Glue as well. Awesome. So now that you have somewhat of an understanding of what the Databricks Marketplace is, you might wonder, okay, what makes it different from the other marketplaces out there? Maybe you've heard of a couple other ones. I'm not going to name them. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, though. And it really comes down to three things. First one is a diverse data asset. Second one is open sharing, and third one is a strong go-to-market motion. So let's talk about the first one, right? For the diverse data assets, what it is you can see on the left, we have a few examples of what they include. The first one is Shutterstock. So this is really we have all types of different images. They actually provide a lot of facial detection volumes that people feed into their ML models directly for any analytics or downstream usage. We also have AI21 Labs, which they have a lot of foundation models that you can use. And finally, through Partner Connect, you can integrate and connect just within seconds to our most popular connectors, such as Fivetran, Power BI, and Tableau. Now you can see here we also have a lot of different out-of-the-box notebooks with code snippets that you can just use across all your different domains and all your different use cases. So let's talk about the first one a little bit more in depth. So this one is the open ecosystem connectivity, right? So what this is, you actually see different types of access methods that we have. Of course, on Databricks, you can just directly mount it to your catalog. That's all good. But you're like, okay, what if I want to externalize it? What if I want to access this somewhere else? And you can see directly on here, you simply get credentials, you can import it, access it elsewhere. Right? We also have something called Open Marketplace, which if you just go on your phone right now and you actually Google it, you can directly play around and see the different data assets that we have in our marketplace today. And also through the Express setup, you can sign up for an account. It'll give you $400 of credits right away, and you can start playing around. And it's really, instant access, and we really want this to be an open experience. Cool. So continuing on, we also have a really strong industry focus on our go-to-market motion. You can see here, this is probably a pretty cool image. You can think of it as sort of a neural network of Delta shares that we have existing. And each one of those were facilitated by our super hands-on partners team that really does one-on-one matching of if you have partners, if you have consumers that are looking for different business use cases, we match them up, we facilitate that relationship for you. And you can see on the bottom right, we actually have this incredible quote from a senior director from a weather forecasting company that says, hey, we've actually gotten more quality leads from Databricks Marketplace than Snowflake Marketplace, right? I said it, but that's okay. And I personally think a big reason behind that is because it's a unique mix of our customer base of technical practitioners as well as our non-technical business buyers. And finally, let's go back to what we talked about earlier, diverse data assets. We have notebooks out of the box that you can use. And finally, we have one thing that we've been mentioning a bit along. You might be like, wait, what is that? And that's the solution accelerators. This is actually something brand new that we've launched, and they're all hosted by Databricks Labs. So let's just take a look into what they are. So I'm super excited to actually announce 4 of our AI-first led Databricks solution accelerators that you can find directly accessible in the Databricks Marketplace today. They are ready to deploy out of the box. You click an instant button, it'll deploy, it'll run as a Databricks apps. A few examples, which you can see in the image here, is a knowledge assistant chatbot. We also have an MCP server. We're going to show an agentic builder. And we also have a conversational sort of agent chatbot interaction as well. So, instead of talking more, let's just see it in practice. Let's build an AI agent together. So let me jump over to the marketplace. And you can see here, let's filter by our solution accelerators. So here you see 15 different results. These are all made by Databricks, out of the box, meant to accelerate any of the use cases that you have. Let's go ahead and actually click on this Castle Agentic Builder app. So here you can see a couple of use case examples that we have. We also have key features that you have, so it's a very comprehensive set of product that you can directly use. And then one more thing that I wanted to call out here is actually in the source here, you might see a GitHub link. So we've decided to actually open source all of these apps. If you click on here, you'll actually be able to get access to the underlying code, the READMEs. You can fork this and integrate it into your CI/CD sort of pipeline and sort of get that running. But let's just go back to the marketplace and let's actually go through and install this. So here, very easy, you accept a term, we'll click continue. It actually takes you to the apps page where you can accept and configure any of the resources and scopes that the app requires permission to access. So here you can see there's a lot of different SQL scopes, as well as warehouses and some vector search and endpoints that the app requires. And here you can also very easily go back to the listing on Marketplace if that's something that you would want. But let's go ahead and let's click next, and we'll name it Castle Demo. Such a fun name. All right, let's install it. So usually this process will take a few minutes, and what's happening under the hood is just compute is spinning or deploying in the background. For the sake of time, I've actually already done this, and we have a URL that we can just click on. Let's go here. So let me click on this URL, same thing as basically what had happened, and it takes us to this cool interface. Pretend this is empty. Cool. So here, I want to point out a few things before we actually do anything with it. You can see on the left, right, there's a settings where you can configure, you can add any of the MCP servers you may want. Maybe you want your agents to talk to the Genie spaces that you have in your workspace. Maybe you wanted to talk to a UC function. All of that will be supported. And also, maybe you want to add in your own tools from the web that you may have API keys for. You can see there's already a lot that are pre-built in, but there's also custom ones that you can just add as you need. So let's say I want to do something cool, and I actually want to create a crew of agents that finds me. I've been wanting to go to Finland recently for a Christmas market, so let's just do that. The cheapest flights to Finland around Christmas time. And then what do I want for my output? I want a nice markdown format. Cool. So let's run that, and let's see what this gives us. Theoretically, what we should expect to see is a crew of agents and a crew of jobs associated with the agents that will basically do the things that I just told it to do. Take a few minutes, it's running. Awesome, so I created it. Where did it go? Right here. Oopsies. Oh, good. So you can see here actually, right, like just with natural language, very easily, this created 3 different types of agents for me. 3 different agents. The first one is a flight researcher. The goal is to find the cheapest flight to Finland. And then the second one is it's actually compiling the flight data in a structured format and sort of comparing the different prices. And then the third one is it's basically making that format into something readable, something nice to look at. Cool. So let's actually run this. And one more thing to call out is actually I can go into each task. I can add in more tools I want. Maybe I want to scrape the web for some open information. I can add my custom tools. Maybe I want to create an image. These are all things that are custom that you can add on later on. So let's just run it and see what that takes us. So you can see down here it says Finland Christmas flight analysis. It's running in the background. Something cool that you can track is there's actually this log that you can look at to understand what's happening under the hood. You can look at what model is running. In this case, the LLM is Llama 4. You can see the questions it's asking, what are the outputs from each agent that you're actually feeding into the next agent. And you can see exactly where it's at in the process, right? We also have this tracing log that is like similar, basically similar function, but in a nicer, more readable format. You can see it's starting to see, okay, from London to Helsinki, like what is the flights they're looking at, what are the prices, and it's going to keep going, right, until it gets an output we're happy with. Now, for the sake of time, I've actually also ran a similar one, but this one to Vienna instead. So let's look at what the completion output was at, what that was from. So you can see now it's in a nice markdown format. It tells me exactly what airline it is, the flight number, where it's departing from, where the destination is to, when it is, and then the prices for it as well. And now maybe once I look at this, I'll be like, okay, I'm like pretty free around December 20th to 28th. I'll take this 100 € flight. All right, so that's kind of an overview of what our solution accelerators and our apps that we're adding onto Marketplace is capable of. This is obviously just one example, but it's meant to be very easy to use, especially for non-technical users, out of the box, and it can do a lot of cool AI use cases. Awesome. Let's go back to the slides. Cool. Now let me pass it on to Tim to talk a little bit about now we know what's on the Marketplace. How do you know what's right for me?
How do I top sheet this?
Oh, there we go. All right, so once you determine what kind of data you want or need, how do you start to curate that? Within Marketplace, you have the ability to do discovery, right? We have a lot of filters set up in Marketplace that allow you to kind of filter down to what you need, whether that's by category or let's say by a particular data provider. We have evaluation, so you can go into the Marketplace listing, look at all of the characteristics that the provider has posted in there, and see whether or not as a consumer it fits your needs for what you need. And then sandboxing, right? Being able to use pre-built notebooks that the data provider has created for you, or being able to use something like Genie. All DeltaShare data can be moved into Genie, so you can interrogate it in natural language, right? Let's say you have a business user who does not want to use SQL, does not want to write Python, you can get that set up in Genie and they can start interrogating the data just through natural language. So how do you get access to the data? Data providers will create one of two listings, right? Or these two different listing types is an instant access listing. So this is generally used for people that are creating sample data, or we have some data providers who create open source data. So think of like the St. Louis Federal Reserve. They have a lot of data out there. And we have a data provider who has put that out on the marketplace just for Databricks users to use. And then you have request for access listings. These are going to be your traditional monetization efforts, right? This is going to be data where, a listing type where somebody will come in, they'll request access. When they request access, it's going to send a notification to the data provider who can then review, go through any sort of licensing or contractual discussions, and then enable this data set within Marketplace for the end user to use. So I'm going to quickly run through an example looking for data about the National Football League. And I gotta go glasses, there we go. All right, cool. And back to the marketplace. So we're gonna start off on the main page here, and just to orient everybody, we have the filter here. So this is gonna be any string that you put into Marketplace to search for a particular listing. And then to the right of that, we got product type, right? So if we expand this, kind of what we saw in Tia's presentation, being able to filter down to a specific data type. Do you want tabular data? Do you want a solution accelerator like Tia just showed? Or let's say a model. This will allow you to filter down to what type of content you're looking for. We have categories. So these are gonna be the categories that a data provider assigns to their listing. And then on the right here, you have the free button. So as I was mentioning, some people put sample data out there. They put open source data. You can click on this button and narrow down to those listings that have free data so you can start exploring the data. And then over on the left here, there's a few additional filters. You'll see some of these look familiar to what we just looked at, but you'll also see that you have the data provider. So if there's somebody that you know is providing data on Marketplace, or you just want to search for a data provider, you can come in here, filter for their name. We also have the different model types, so what type of model job we want to run. And down below, you'll see that there's also private exchange, which we'll come back to in a little bit. But I'm just going to search for NFL here really fast. And let me expand this. There we go. So if I type in NFL, we'll see that there's two listings here. This one is one that I set up for Summit here. And when we jump into this listing, we can see what the data provider has given us in terms of information. And from a data provider perspective, you really want to be creative with your listing descriptions. Explain overall what the concept is of the data. Any sort of characteristics or attributes about this data that you want to highlight to the end consumer. And end consumers can take all of this information and understand, does this fit my needs? And if so, we can either go ahead and get it installed, or we can, again, contact the data provider to get access. But as we scroll down here, again, creativity reigns. Adding use cases to these descriptions really helps individuals understand. And then at the very bottom, a lot of data providers, and this is something that we really actively encourage from a provider perspective, set up these notebooks. So these notebooks are really an area for the data providers to showcase and paint a picture about how this data is going to help their consumers navigate the particular data that they need. So I'll just quickly run through this. You can see that I'm using a combination of all of the languages that Databricks supports, so Python, SQL, Scala, R. Most of this is going to be in SQL. So you can see here I'm just running some simple EDA, nothing too crazy here. Visualizations. So you can use visualizations within these notebooks, again, to showcase the value of the data. So here I'm just using a Databricks visualization that I brought in, just creating that off of SQL. And then down below, we'll kind of highlight how you can use other libraries. So here, using Plotly Express to plot specific data points. And then below that, using something like Seaborn to really build like these rich graphic interfaces for data consumers to understand what this content's about. Up on the top right side, I forgot to mention this earlier, data consumers can import these notebooks if they wanted to. So if this is something of value to them, they can import it and start running with it right away. So me, as a data consumer, I see that this is something I want. I can just, on the top right side here, click on this Get Instant Access button. So when I click on that button, and I take a look at what's available under here. One, I can see all the tables in this case. There's nothing else shared. I didn't share a notebook. I didn't share a model. So what we see in here are the tables. But had those other assets been included in here, we would see those. And then we have the more options here. So Tia highlighted this earlier, but do I want to run this on Databricks, which is the top selection here, classic Databricks to Databricks scenario, or do I want to run this in something like Excel or Power BI? I could select on external platform and be able to get access to the data through whatever platform I choose to be on. Here I can name the catalog. So any data providers out there, if you do create these notebooks, always keep that in mind that the data consumer can rename the catalog. Everything else below that remains the same. Schema, table, all remains how you name them, but we want to avoid collisions. The data consumer can rename the catalog. And from there, I just accept the terms. I go ahead and get instant access. And once that's connected, you'll see the button on the top right changes from Get Instant Access to Open. So I can click on Open, and I can go in here and really start taking a look at all the different tables that have been made available to me. All right. And next, I'm going to bring Tia back up just to talk about private exchanges.
Cool. All right. So we now sort of have an understanding of a public marketplace. Now you might wonder, okay, what if I don't want to share it to everybody? What if I only want to share it to a specified set of recipients, or what we like to call it, a private network? Well, that's exactly what private exchange is used for. It's the same thing, powered by Delta sharing, governed by Unity Catalog, but here you can now just specify a set of unique sharing identifiers for recipients that you want to share to. And we keep this storefront interface of Marketplace. So we want to still make discovery really easy, still make this scalable, easy to set up, all that. We keep all those components. But now instead of having it be publicly available, it's only seenable by the people that you want it to see. Now there's sort of two main use cases that we see for this from our other customers. The first one is peer-to-peer sharing. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. If I have one person in particular, or one meta store, one organization I'm trying to share it to, easy. The second one is probably more interesting, an industry collaboration in a private network. So usually when we see this, it's kind of like if I'm a conglomerate, I'm trying to share it with my subsidiaries, or maybe I'm a supplier and I want to share it to my vendors, or even we have like a customer who's a government agency in the Middle East. Private network, private exchange is exactly how they share data in between their different government agencies. And you can see, actually, like there has been a lot of success and usage with private exchange and with Marketplace in general. You can see here from John Snow Labs, they're actually using it to share AI models, and they're super excited to see all the impact that will have as more and more sharing continues to proliferate. Awesome. So now I'm going to bring Tim back up. Lots of exchanges here today. Just imagine we're part of a conglomerate, exactly like the example that I was just talking about, and let's share some data with a subsidiary.
All right. So back into Marketplace. A couple things I need to do here really quick just to set this up properly. So I'm going to duplicate, and then I'm going to go in my catalog and grab my sharing identifier. Perfect. All right, so back in the Marketplace, what we want to do is again highlight how to create this private exchange. Again, a private exchange is just an area for you to share data to individual customers. And I shouldn't say share data, make listings available is the right way to think of that. So back into Marketplace, I'm going to go up top to the provider console. So the provider console is the area that manages all of your Marketplace listings, all of your Marketplace information. So I'm going to click on provider console. And just quick navigation is you have these subheaders, right? Overview listings, that's where you're going to put all of your listings that you would create as a data provider, any requests that come in. But I'm going to focus on exchanges right now. So I want to create an exchange that, let's say, only Tia can see. So I'm going to go ahead and create an exchange. Again, top right side, create exchange, and I'll name this Company B. So I'll go ahead and add that exchange. We can see the exchange here. And within this exchange, there's, again, two subheaders. Listings, so this is going to be any listings that you want to expose to an end consumer. And then members. Members are going to be those people. And these are created by using the Metastore ID, or we'll sometimes call it the sharing identifier. But let's go ahead and add a listing. So I'm going to add a listing that I created. It's an IPO calendar. So we see IPO full calendar here. So what I'm saying is, in this particular exchange, have this listing. Now, who do I want to give that access to that listing? So I'll go ahead, click on members, and I'll just add a member name of my initials, TJS, and then I'll paste in that sharing identifier. So the sharing identifier, again, is kind of that gateway for an individual user to be able to see this listing on our marketplace. So once I create that, we can see that this person, this individual, this meta store has access to this listing, right? And if I go back into the marketplace and go into our filters, and I'm gonna go ahead and scroll all the way down to the access, and so we can see that I've clicked on private exchange, and then I'll just filter for IPO in here. And we can see now that that IPO calendar has been made accessible to this single user. All right. And then Tia's going to talk really quick about mechanism to facilitate any sort of internal sharing within the organization. Let me step out of your way here.
Yeah, so you might be wondering, okay, private exchange, public marketplace, lots of words being tossed around. Which one am I actually supposed to use? And to add one more to the mix, maybe this week you've also heard something called the Discover page, or some people might like to call it internal marketplace, whatnot. So actually the suggestion here that we want to recommend is if you have any sharing across organizations, use private exchange. If you have anything within the organization, use Discover. Now you might wonder, okay, I actually haven't heard of it. What is Discover? So this is actually a new page that we're releasing, and it combines AI-powered recommendations with, you can also have human curation of top assets that your admin wants the users within the organization to be able to see. So it's really like a recommendation engine that combines that storefront component as well, but it's mostly internal within your organization. Cool, so now that you've heard, okay, I have all this content that I can add onto Marketplace, how do I get started? I want to be a provider now. I have valuable data in my company that I want to share out and send to other customers out there, and I want to take advantage of the Databricks Marketplace. How can I do so? There's sort of two main ways to doing this. If you just want to be a private exchange provider, it's actually super simple and super easy. In the provider console today, you can go in. It's a self-serve setup process. 3 steps, you click through a few buttons, you're all done. Second one, if you want to be a public marketplace provider, just join our data provider partner program, and then we'll have our representatives reach out to you. We'll get that started, and we will be super excited to partner with all of you if you're interested in this. Awesome. So now you might wonder, okay, I have my listings set up. How do I make them stand out? I want to be able to get a lot of leads out of this. What can I do? And now is where we share our secret sauce. So there's sort of 3 prongs, 3 steps that we recommend. First one is using the rich metadata, right? We have a lot of listing fields, whether this is attributes, tags. You can even add a bunch of different little links that we have. We would encourage you to take advantage of all of that, and especially the richer your metadata can be, the easier it is for your consumer to downstream put that into AI/BI, whether that's Genie, maybe they want to build some sort of apps or anything related to the data that you're giving them. The metadata makes that so much easier. Now the second one is sample notebooks, and this is what Tim was highlighting earlier. This really gets the data right into the consumer's hands, and we actually found that consumers are 5x more likely to install and use a listing if it comes with a sample notebook. And finally, trial data. So if you have a full data set that is proprietary, maybe that's something that you want to put behind a request for access listing. You could maybe think about, oh, what if I only expose a subset, maybe by geography or maybe by time frame, of sample data that lets customer basically hands-on interact. They can start writing sample queries. And above all, we also recommend you to supplement your listings with any educational materials, whether this is demos, webinars, blog posts, tutorials, whatnot. We also have a place to add that directly within each marketplace listing. Awesome. Now, maybe you're like, okay, I have my listing up and running. I want to understand how can I optimize my lead gen, and how do I understand if people are actually using it? What is the telemetry behind it? And this dashboard actually comes built in with the Databricks Marketplace and is right at your disposal. And this is what we're calling the Provider Usage Analytics Dashboard. It really gives you access to 3 types of metrics. The first one, it tracks leads interacting with your listings. This could be views, this could be installs, this could be how they're using it downstream, as well as funnel analytics to track, okay, where exactly is the drop-off happening? And then you can make changes to your listing accordingly. And finally, we also have aggregate listing statistics that you can track basically all at your disposal directly within the product.
And then just jumping in really quick downstream from that, within our system tables, if you guys have explored those, you can see who's you're sharing data with, how often they're querying that data, so it's going to give you a richer background about who's actually using the content.
Awesome. Let's try building a listing. Tim.
All right. So we'll jump back in the marketplace, but this time we are going to create that listing. So let me zero this out really fast. So back in the marketplace, again, provider console controls everything within marketplace on your side. And I'm going to go in the listings. And I'm going to go ahead and create a listing. And I'm going to go ahead and call this Canadian weather. I have a Delta share already stood up, and it contains weather station data from Canada. And I'm going to skip over some of these, so it's not going to be a very rich setup, and it's opposed to what I tell everybody to do, but I'm just going to throw a brief description in here. I'm going to skip over some of these elements, but I want to focus on these two things first and foremost. One is the access. We talked about private exchange. We talked about public marketplace. I want this data to be on the public marketplace. I want it discoverable by everybody, within Databricks. And then the data assets. Instantly accessible versus request only. I want this data to be immediately available, so I'm going to go with the default selection here of instant access. And then here's where I'm going to add my share. Whoops. Oh, I think we're in an environment that may not have that. Let's see. Well, we'll make this one, in this case, a request for access. And then we can see down below, it's going to ask us a bunch of information here. Is this data? Is it a solution accelerator? Is it a model? I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be tabular data. And then below, categories. So this was supposed to be weather data, so we'll say that it's climate. And I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. And then below this they are all optional attributes, right? But really good to add these different attributes if you have them, so your data consumers can see what's the geographic coverage, what are the update frequencies, the time periods in which it's available, or periodicity. And then I'll leave this stock as well, but you can see here we provide a framework or a roadmap here of what you'd want to add into the description. So overview of it. What are the specific details around the data? What are your use cases? I'm going to stick with the default. And then here's where we add our notebooks. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Notebook, and I'm going to go ahead and add the only notebook we have here, which is this Market Data Explorer. So it doesn't necessarily tie out to the Canadian weather data, but I will go ahead and click on that and add that notebook. And so we've got the notebook added. And the rest of this, again, is all optional, but really nice to have for the end consumer. Do you have documentation around the specific data set? What are the privacy policies, et cetera? And you'll see down below, we can either publish this, and once we publish this, it's going to go right to Marketplace. We could save the draft, so if we want to come back, edit, maybe build a new notebook, something like that, or get the share set up, I can put this into this status and then go back and make any corrections that I need. But I'm going to go ahead and publish this live. So we'll go ahead and hit publish. And this takes us into a page here. This looks exactly what it would look like within our marketplace. However, you'll see up on the top right side here, this still gives us the ability to edit. I want to go ahead and view our marketplace. So when I jump in, take a look, Canadian weather, have my notebook attached. That's as simple as it is to set up a marketplace listing. Again, having the share in the right place, which I did not, would benefit it in the case that I was going for. But this is how quick and easy you can set it up. And again, these listings can be put on the public marketplace. They can be in the private exchange. So very, very fast and easy. And then I will go back to Tia to discuss roadmap items.
Awesome. So before we start looking forward and talk about the the roadmap, we've covered a lot today. So let's do a quick recap of what we talked about. So we've learned what Delta sharing is, which is the open protocol that's powering Marketplace. We know that Marketplace is an open platform for all types of data and AI assets. We've also talked about what the difference is between a public as well as a private marketplace. And we also learned, what is the value of being a provider and how do you onboard and get started. So now let's look forward and let's see what's coming up, right? Basically, there are a lot of exciting things in the work in terms of our principle and our theme of how we're building Marketplace. We really want to open up two main things. The first one is we want to enable more and more type of these data assets or product types to be able to be added to the Marketplace. The second thing is we want to maximize our customer reach, right? So making the discovery experience better. We're working on integrating search results into the assistant so that you can actually use natural language to search for and find listings and results that are most relevant to what you're looking for. If you look up top, we also have on the roadmap clean rooms in Marketplace, which is something that really cool that we're adding. We've heard a lot of, obviously providers and consumers, they really value privacy, so that's something that, we also really value and want to bring to you guys. And then finally, we're also looking at AI-ready data sets, like how can we make it easier for you to feed that data directly into maybe your AI use cases downstream and make everything ready to go. So what we would really highly encourage, if there's one thing that you take away from today, is to just go play around with it, right? Like the Databricks Marketplace is directly accessible. I'm assuming most of you are already on Databricks. You can just find it in the sidebar. If you're not, we also have Open Marketplace. You can just search for it literally on Google. And if you're interested in any of the things that we talked about today, feel free to come talk to us after. And please fill out the survey. It'll help us, understand if we're delivering the right content to you guys. But once again, thank you guys so much for coming to our session. And we have time for any Q&A if there's anything people are curious about. Yeah, awesome.